Hi and welcome to A World of Words. I'm Vanessa and today I'm going to be doing my September reading wrap-up. So since I did not film a single book talk in the month of September, but I still want to talk about all of the books I read in some sort of detail. This wrap-up will contain spoilers for some of the books that I mentioned, but you don't have to worry if you haven't read one of the books and you don't want to be spoiled. I will definitely tell you when I'm about to talk about spoilers and make it very easy for you to mute it or fast forward and then pick back up when the spoilers are over. So I don't want this to be crazy long, and I did read 6 books that I really want to talk about, so I'm just going to jump on in. The first book I read in September is Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo, the third and final book in the Grisha trilogy. I actually read the first 100 pages or so in August, and I think I mentioned it very briefly in my August wrap-up, but I did finish it in September and I'm counting it as a September book. So first of all, I really love how this book turned into an ensemble cast partway through. You had the whole group of characters that were all traveling together because of things that happened at the end of the second book, and I just love how we got to know some of the side character in more detail, and there were a lot of really fun moments with just the whole group of characters all together instead of having it just be about Alina and Mal, which it was primarily for the first couple books. There were some really great funny moments with all of the characters just playing off of each other, and I just really loved the dynamic between all of these characters. And I have notes here. That's what I'm waving around. I thought this book and the series in general just wrapped up incredibly beautifully, and I'm so impressed with how Leigh Bardugo managed it, and I'm going to talk more about that in detail in the spoilers. So since this is the third book in a trilogy, I can't really say much more without going into spoilers, so I'm going to go ahead and go into the spoilers now. Basically, when the image of the book goes away, you are safe from spoilers if you haven't read Ruin and Rising yet. But if you have read Ruin and Rising, then I am so excited to discuss this with you. So as I was saying about the ending, we learn partway through that it isn't actually the Firebird that is the third amplifier, it is Mal. Which means that she would have to kill Mal and wear his bones to become the Super Grisha. Which, by the way, ew. Leigh Bardugo manages an incredible example of find the third way out, which is a writing technique where you essentially give your character 2 horrible choices. In this case, it is kill her beloved Mal or let the Darkling destroy the world. Both are pretty bleak, but instead, something else entirely happens. Now, since I did read it very early in September, so that's a month ago, and I did read a whole bunch of other books since then, I'm a little bit fuzzy on the exact details, but I was very happy with the results, that they created all of these other Grisha, and that was pretty awesome. And I also especially love how it ended for Mal and Alina. The way it ended up with them taking care of all the kids at the house, it warmed my heart. It was so incredibly sweet, and I loved it so much. Now, I really briefly want to talk about Nikolai, who was my favorite character in the series because, of course, he gets all the funny lines, and my favorite character usually tends to be the one with all the funny lines. So when he was first killed, I was so upset. But then when he was turned into the monster thing, I was freaking out, like, a lot, because Nikolai! It was Nikolai! Oh my god. I was not handling it well. I was getting really mad, and I was kind of, like, angry for a long time at the book, because I was like, really? Really? You're gonna do this to Nikolai? Nikolai! Ugh. Everything turned out okay. I especially loved the part where he kind of came to their rescue during the final battle. How, like, I think the line was, Nikolai decided that if he was going to be a monster, he was going to be, like, the best monster ever, and that was really awesome, and I loved it. I also loved how they were able to reverse everything. Thank God. Good. We're good to go. So I think that is all that I'm going to say about Ruin and Rising. Basically, I really love this book, and I highly recommend this and the entire Grisha trilogy. The next book I read was Furthermore by Tahereh Mafi. I absolutely loved the whimsical writing style. I want to study this book and learn how to make such amazing creative descriptions. Every page was just filled with so much sensory detail. I also thought Alice was just an adorable character. She didn't always make the smartest choices, but she's 12, so it was believable, and I didn't find it frustrating at all, as I would have if she was an older character, basically. There were 2 magical worlds in this book, which I thought was amazing, and I loved them both. One complaint that I have heard about this book is that the magic system, especially the magic system in Furthermore, is not really explained very well. But honestly, one of the rules in the story did seem to be that nothing was as it seemed, so basically like expect anything. But I just had a really great time being swept up into the story, so that didn't bother me at all. Also, the narrator in this story was hilarious. 5 out of 5 stars. Next I read Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. I'm just going to start by saying that this is the 5th book in a fantasy series, and so anything I say about this will probably be a spoiler, so there is not going to be a spoiler-free section for this book. So if you have not started the Thorn and Glass series, which I highly recommend that you go do that, because you'll just do it. So if you don't want to ruin the wonderful reading experience that is this series, I recommend you just mute this until I stop waving it around, and then you'll be safe. I unfortunately don't have time to talk about every little thing in this book in this wrap-up, and I was honestly too afraid to film a book talk for it because I knew it was just going to go on forever and ever. I did not want to edit that monster. This book was a blast. I want to start by pointing out how the writing itself was just so much more lyrical and beautiful than it was in the first few books. The descriptions and everything were just a step above, and I was really impressed. There were just too many amazing lines to even count. Plot-wise, one of the standout scenes for me was the one where Lysandra turns into the sea dragon and has to save them all. I was stressing out so much during that scene, as I'm sure everybody was, and it went on for a long time. And I also want to mention how Sarah J. Maas manages to have these fight scenes, and they go on for a really long time, but they never seem boring. Like, some fight scenes can kind of drag on and get maybe a little bit repetitive, and I feel like when I'm trying to write a fight scene, I kind of struggle to keep it long and interesting, but like, her fight scenes are really long, but they're really interesting, and I don't know how she does it. There's just so much happening in every fight scene, and it's amazing, and that scene was amazing, and I was stressing out so much. I was like, Lysandra better not die, because I have grown so attached to her, and all the things were coming after her, and it was just not good. It was not good, but we made it through. That's the important part. I also love how Manon got to kind of be a part of the crew for a little bit. Honestly, I just love how all of the characters were together for a large portion of this book. They finally all met up and had a storyline all together, and that was so much fun. I also really love Leigh and Lorcan. I love how Leigh is such a strong character, and even with her ruined leg, she still manages to survive through all of these crazy action scenes. And then in the end, when we learn that Aelin or Dorian will have to die to save the world, I'm still devastated. There has to be another way. There has to. But this book was seriously amazing. So this wrap-up is turning out to be way longer than I expected it to, so I'm going to stop right here, and I will do a second part video where I list these other books that I read in the month of September, because I don't want it to be like really long, and if you want to hear all of my thoughts on all of the books and essentially get a mini book talk on each of the books that I read, then I feel like it would be better that I just split them now. So for now, I upload new videos on Mondays and every other Friday, plus the occasional surprise video, so please subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. And thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day, and I will be back very soon with the second part of this wrap-up. Bye!